Welcome to Armstrong Avenue, Armstrong's Electric Avenue.
Welcome to the Armstrong Avenue podcast, brought to you by the Independent Wrestling Network. Here's your hosts, Big Mike and Scott Armstrong. All right, guys, we're back with number 28. That is episode number 28 of the Armstrong Avenue podcast. You're listening in with Big Mike, the host, and I'm sitting here with Scott Armstrong, the guy, the man, the myth, the legend. We're right here. What's up, dude?
What's going on, Big Mike? How are you, man? 28 episodes. Good 28. Lord.
I
can't believe it. We got to number 2, and I went, wow, we're going to do number 2 now.
We were in it, man.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I'm happy to be here.
We keep on going, man, and it's been fun. We have made some great friends, of fans who've become part of the community of ours, you know, and I love it. I love seeing it. I love being a part of this. It has added something to my life and as a fan of wrestling, because I'm getting to, as you know, and everybody can see, I'm constantly adding to my collection of old Southeastern and Continental posters back here. and I get to experience it all firsthand of what was going on in the 80s. And it's all because of this podcast. Yeah, well, I love it.
I do too, man. I love talking about it. It's a lot of fun.
But hey, I got some great news, guys. We got a new sponsor. They came to IWN, Zero FG Energy. I know what you're saying. You guys already got a coffee company. What do you need an energy drink company for? Look, guys, we're busy people. We got to keep that caffeine going, pumping through our veins. Zero FG Energy. They're actually based right here in Georgia, and they are fantastic, man. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to show you guys what I got right here. This is the zero sugar Zero FG Energy drink. It's I can't even. It doesn't even taste like. Whenever you get a zero sugar drink, you're like, this doesn't taste right. No, this is great. It's not too sweet. It's not overbearing. You don't get the jitters like most energy drinks. And if you take pre-workout, you know what I mean with the jitters. This doesn't give it to you, but it keeps you going throughout the day. If you need that pick me up, like I know I do at 28 years old, I literally. I mean, I'm busier than anybody you'll ever meet. And, this keeps me going, man. Scott, I got something coming to you.
Yeah, I'm waiting to get it. I can get up in the morning and drink my Bones coffee and then and drink my energy drink. And our next sponsor should be Ambien.
To put us to sleep at night.
Put us back to sleep. Hey, we really appreciate our sponsors. As always, new sponsors are always welcome, and we truly appreciate it. Like we said, Bones Coffee, use code Armstrong and get 15% off, and also Collar and Elbow.
Yep. Look,
you want some good wrestling apparel from Collar and Elbow, use code Armstrong, 10% off, and now a new sponsor signing on with us, man. Episode 28.
Things awesome. Are picking up for us. I mean, I'm getting fans of ours are hitting me up going, Mike, how can I reach out to Collar and Elbow and get y'all a shirt going? So we're building traction. Listen, guys, awesome. If you guys want this shirt, just DM Collar and Elbow. Blow their messages up. Tell them you want the Collar and Elbow Armstrong Avenue t-shirt.
Yes.
And you want it now.
Yes, and we'll wear it on every episode.
Yes, I will. I'll need a couple of them because I'm gonna be throwing them out in the crowd at shows. Whenever
there you go. There you go. There you go. Speaking of shows.
Oh yeah. If anybody doesn't know.
Well, yeah, I would imagine there are a lot of people that don't know yet.
Yeah. We Griffin, Georgia, where we were having the Main Event Wrestling January 28th show, was hit with crazy natural disaster. I've heard of bad hurricanes. I've seen bad hurricanes. I've seen bad, tornadoes, but we got hit with 5 at the same time.
5 tornadoes, right?
5 tornadoes.
Yeah.
And that was horrible, man. I've worked through, being in fire, public safety, hurricanes, natural disasters. I've worked with GEMA, I've worked with FEMA, I've worked with all of them. But this was, I mean, we had 2,200 homes.
And when you say we, for me down here in Florida,
Yes.
where is we?
Griffin, Georgia, Central Georgia, Spalding County, Brooks, East Griffin. Where I was grew up, man, was right there. I grew up with my grandparents right there, and it was just decimated. We had over 2,200 homes get hit by these tornadoes, and it's people are living in churches. Thank God that they opened up their doors and people are living there. They're getting fed by the community. And but Main Event Wrestling management came to me, told me that, hey, we're going to postpone January 28th. We're going to push it to February 24th, which I know everybody listening, February 25th, we're in Dothan. We're doing a back-to-back. February 24th in Griffin, Georgia, and it's going to be a benefit show to help raise money for the community that we're a part of up here.
Yeah, that's fantastic, man. And it's the right move for Main Event Wrestling to pitch in and help the community rebuild and move the date, and hopefully people can start putting their lives back together and come out and enjoy a good time and forget about their problems for just a few hours, because that's what wrestling is just an opportunity for people to have a good time and forget all the issues of life. And so we thoughts and prayers for those people. We want everybody to take your time and do everything you can. And in the meantime, Main Event Wrestling, I know, is trying to help raise money for the community. And so I think moving that date was a great idea. Even though we're, over a week out, I still feel like it's the best move. I know, a lot of people have made plans. A lot of people have already bought tickets. And we want those people to know that Main Event Wrestling will, they will reimburse you if you'd like to get your money back, or they will honor those tickets at the gate on Friday, February 24th.
Yes.
And so, just really, I think a classy move by Main Event Wrestling. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. It was seeing the damage firsthand. I knew that there was no way we could Main Event Wrestling could run that show. I mean, it was horrendous. There was people trapped in houses for hours trying to get out. I was there. I was working. I still part-time as a public safety personnel, and I happened to be on the ambulance the day they hit, right there in the thick of it. And
wow.
And
that's scary.
So I know Main Event Wrestling, like you said, we are all trying to do what we can to pitch in and raise money to help these people who, luckily, it wasn't my family, but technically it is my family. That's my community. It is. So we're just trying to help them out. And but if anybody can come out and support us February 24th, and we will be setting up a place to donate through our through the church that we're working with. So if our listeners would like to donate, I can put that out at a later time as soon as we get that. But hey, it is a good thing that we moved it. But
yeah, I agree. And look, I know it's tough on a lot of the wrestlers too, because they were, they had made their booking to be there, and so. But everybody seemed to understand, it's an act of God, and there's nothing you can really do about it. But look, some wrestling organizations may have gone ahead and run that show. I think it's a positive move not to, and let the community get back on its feet and try to start rebuilding before we go back. So February 24th, it's a Friday night. It's going to be a lot of fun. So anybody and everybody that's listening or watching this on YouTube, please come out and we'll have a good time. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, we're excited about it. And some more tragic news that came out this week. Jay Briscoe passed away. If you haven't heard, he is a member of the Briscoes tag team with his brother Mark Briscoe. He passed away in a tragic car accident.
Yeah, I got that news. My son actually called me and told me. He said, "Hey, did you hear about Jay Briscoe?" And I said, "No." And then he told me, and look, I immediately, when Brad died, it was, he had a heart attack and died instantly. And so when I heard that, it was I immediately felt for that family because I feel like I could identify and to look for, I mean, the entire day, the next day, it was kind of a pit in my stomach because I know what that family's going through, except I know his two daughters were in the truck with him, and I know they're still going through surgeries, and it's a long road just for his kids. And if there was anything that I ever heard about that dude, look, I only met him one time, and that was at the Ric Flair's Final Match pay-per-view. And if there was anything I knew about him, was everybody I ever met always spoke so highly of that man, and talked about what a good dude he was, and then how much he loved his daughters. And since his passing, there's been a video popped up that may have been around for a long time, but it was he and his daughter, and she's practicing to do a cheer or something, and he's doing it right there with her, and you just go, wow, a girl dad and a good man that loves his daughters and doesn't mind. Look, if you love your child, you'll do anything for them, and you could see that him having fun with her. And look, I was a fan of the Briscoes before I ever met either one of them. It was a very unique act as far as wrestling went, and to see them as brothers backstage, I easily identified because that's how I grew up too. Look, in the wrestling business, you're in the locker room, and those dudes you go to war with every day, they're your brothers, and you look at it that way. You make the miles together. You're in the trenches with each other, and you're in the trenches more than you're at home with your actual family. And so then when you're actually in the trenches with your blood brother, it just makes your brother closer to you because you're already close with the boys. And then that's your actual brother. It just, I don't know, man, there's just a connection there that's unlike anything. For me personally, it was unlike anything ever. And so for the surviving brother to lose a brother like that, and it's a phone call and a wait, what? And then it's, the emotions are endless, and it doesn't just go away. I mean, Brad's been gone 10 years. I think about him every day. And it's a long road for that entire family. And my family talked, I can't tell you how long we talked about their family. And it's just it hits hard, man. It just does, because I know what they will go through. As far as the loss for him, I have no clue what they'll go through as far as the pain and agony of getting those two daughters back up and going 100%. And those little girls having to deal with the loss of their father at such a young age. And so, I know thoughts and prayers is thrown out there pretty loosely everywhere, but I think prayer works. And I know his wife, all I know is reports. I haven't talked to anybody that is on the inside with the family. And all I know is reports, but I know one of the reports was the wife said, it is going to be a long road, and we really need all the prayers we can get. So, if you got a couple of minutes when you're driving in your car or listening to this, just throw a prayer up there and for that family, because they're truly going to need it.
Yep, for sure. They are. And like you said, he was a good guy, a good father, and I just hate to see that go. My prayers are with him, like you said.
Yeah, it's just tough, man. It is. It's a tough look. Here's the real kicker: the entire wrestling industry knew the Briscoes. I mean, if you watch wrestling, you know the Briscoes, and it's just such a. I mean, when my son called and told me, he said, "Do you know him?" And I said, "Yeah, I met him once." And he said, "Yeah, he was killed in a car wreck." And I said, "No. I mean." it just, man, something like that is just so, it just knocks you for a loop. And that's just me, another dude has been in the locker room forever. So you know how it's going to hit the family, but it hit the wrestling world hard too. And the outpouring of love. Look, the wrestling community, they don't know if they love WWE or AEW or ROH or NWA. They don't know who they love. And they'll fight with you over all of it. But when something like this happens, there's not a more loving community than the wrestling community. And I should say loving and passionate. And they came out of the woodwork to show their respect for this guy. And as well they should have, because he was a good man.
Yep. You want to know who did not come together and show respect for somebody? It would be the internet wrestling community on Scott Armstrong's on personal Twitter.
Yes, yes, that's very
Some
true.
might say you made a good take. Some might say you had a bad take. Some might say that you didn't know what you were talking about.
I think all of that was said.
I read about probably a couple hundred responses out of the 500,000 of them I think that was there, and
yes,
even got into a few heated debates with some of the internet wrestling community. And
yeah,
if people do not know what we're talking about, this past what was it?
This past week anyway.
This past week on AEW, a Ruby Soho, I think as she goes by, was busted open and covered in blood, and they had a little picture out, and Scott retweeted the picture and was like, "Why is it the referee checking on the bleeding wrestler?" And explain, Scott. We'll let you get into it.
So a buddy of mine sent me this picture, and he sent me a couple of pictures. One was Ruby, and when I say covered in blood, I don't know that in all my years being around the business, I've ever seen a female so covered in blood. And so to me, it was like, look, back in the day, they'd say, "Oh, she hit a gusher." And that's what, like she might have hit artery. And so it was such blood loss. It was unreal. And so the picture is the referee literally watching the other girl coming up the stairs to get in the ring. Ruby is laying on the mat and gushing blood. And so when I saw it, look, I can only tell you how I was trained as a referee in WWE. And we would have at least 2 times a year, but 3 to 5 times a year. But at the very least 2 times a year, we would have a seminar where the doctors, it would be usually on a TV day, and the doctors would lead the seminar. And they would tell us, so here's the deal with bleeding. Look, in WWE, they would have probably stopped that match. And if they didn't completely stop the match, they would have stopped it for a minute to let the doctor come up and take a look at Ruby. And so I can't tell you in AEW or any other organization, right, wrong, or indifferent. I can only tell you that I know Ruby. I know her personally. I can tell you that she is a small lady. Her heart is as big as any man's I've ever known. But in stature, she is a small lady. And I don't know if she weighs 115 pounds. And Mike, you're paramedic. I mean, you ride on the ambulance. You know that if somebody is bleeding like that and they've been wrestling a match, so their heart is steady pumping. So I'll ask you this. Do you personally know what the threshold is for blood loss on any human being before they become delirious or lose consciousness? Do you know that?
It's a lot.
But I don't, and you're trained professionally, but you don't know that. who would know? Okay, she's been bleeding for 90
A
seconds.
doctor.
Right. So, as a referee, what I was taught, and I'm telling you from 2006, and when I was a producer, I literally had to go to every one of those seminars. So from 2006 to when I was released last year, I've been to, I can't tell you how many seminars. And so the referee is the link to the doctor. The doctor's sitting ringside. And I can tell you right now, I bet those doctors during this match were sitting at ringside going, oh my God, should I stop this? Should I not stop this? I'm sure they were going crazy. But when I said, so after I tweeted the picture and started getting back a lot of negative response, look, I had a lot of people go, you're right. A lot of people were really negative to me. And all I did was post a picture and pose a question. I was dropped F-bombs on. I was called clown. I had indie guys tell me that I didn't know what I was doing or talking about. What I didn't see was a bunch of people going, God, I hope Ruby's okay. They all took sides and said, oh, you WWE and you don't like it. Everybody took a side and felt as if they should dive on me for asking that question. Well, somebody sent me another tweet that was a clip of the opponent coming up the steps with a bag in her hand. And when the camera went wide, Ruby is on the ground bleeding horribly. And so I specifically watched the ref, and the ref literally watched the opponent come up the stairs and get in the ring and open the bag and throw out thumbtacks. The ref never once looked back at Ruby. Well, you know, the longer the match goes, the more she bleeds. You have to keep an eye on her. You cannot get caught watching a wrestling match. You just can't do it. And so
blood isn't a gimmick, man. That's
my point, Mike. That is my point about all this. We have become, as wrestling fans, we've become okay with, they're bleeding. Oh yeah, wrestlers bleed. That's true. That is very true. And look, I've been around this since I can remember breathing. So that's true. We're kind of jaded to blood. We're bloodthirsty. We want to see it. Oh, wow, look at that. That's cool. But the human factor of a girl that weighs 115 pounds and her heart beating 90 miles an hour because she's just wrestled this brawl of a match, and she is opened up bad. The referee, you have to forget that you're part of a match and you're part of a production and a show. You have to become a human being and watch the girl and Ruby Riott. You have to, you can still, do your work in the ring, but you cannot stop looking at her. And so I guess when I tweeted that, I should have said, this is to all referees out in the referee world. Do we not know to never take your eye off of somebody that is bleeding that heavily? Because Ruby's a sweetheart and she's a real human being. She would try to get up. I don't care if she had lost a limb. She would try to get up because that's who she is. A tremendous athlete and can do it all. But I have no clue. And I refereed a lot of bloody matches. I refereed a lot of huge matches. And I still have no clue how much blood I could lose before I passed out or how much blood you could lose, Mike, or anybody. But when I see a girl that's small in stature like that, bleeding so heavily, hey, man, I know in my heart, I can't be the referee in that ring and get caught up and, oh, wow, this is cool. Listen to the people. Oh, no, man, this is about her. And that was my intention. And dude, I can't tell you. I mean, I had people tell me you're a loser, you're petty, you don't know anything. And I sat back, reading those comments thinking, well, and one guy did say something back to, and even that said, oh, now you're going to double down. Oh my God. And I thought, you know what? He's right. He doesn't understand. He says he's big time wrestler and promoter and booker and all this. He does all this. This guy did, and I thought, you know what? It's always on Twitter. It's the 1,000 comments, but it's the one. There's always one negative comment that just digs under your skin. And usually I know better, and this time I didn't, and I should have. And I look, if I had to do it over again, I probably wouldn't even tweeted it. But in reality, if that tweet makes every referee in the business aware of what I'm talking about right here, I am doubling down. I'm tripling down. I don't care. Bring the heat. I'm good with it. But the reality is, wrestlers, just because they're a character on TV, they're real people. And you know the deal, Mike. You deal with it. You work on the ambulance, so you see that kind of stuff. And it just made me know that the doctors that were sitting outside the ring, there's no doubt in my mind they wanted to go, hey, can we pause right here? But it's a pay-per-view, and there's so many circumstances, and I totally understand all of them. I do. But it's just such a when I saw Ruby and the pictures of her and how she was just covered, it was like, oh God, is she okay? I mean, just looking at the pictures, like, is she okay? You know what I mean? Yeah. And so to know that there's a referee in the ring with her that's not with her every minute after she's bleeding that heavily, hey man, I don't care. Come at me. I don't care what you say. You got to keep your eye on that human being. Yep. Because at the end of the day, it's a human being.
Yep. It all depends on the size of the person, their general overall health and well-being, and their own personal threshold to any of it. You know, it varies person to person. But when somebody loses a lot of blood at one time, and like you said, their heart's going 90-0, it would take nothing for her to try to stand up and just hit the ground
and just get dizzy and pass out, right? And they were going into the finish after that, and that's one of those things that you got to make sure she's good before she stands up to go into anything. And because, man, the last thing you want to do if somebody passes out is try to pick them back up. Mm-hmm. So you know the deal, dude. You know, I know, but
the internet wrestling community knows more than we do.
Well, they sure let me know they did.
I know I told one guy, he was like, well, because he commented under one of my posts about it. I didn't know nothing about this, dude. I had no idea you made this post. Nothing. I posted on the Armstrong Avenue podcast Twitter. I said, hey guys, we got a new episode. Hope you guys enjoy. Listen to it, whatever. All that guy. You guys know how I post.
Sure.
And he commented, well, is he going to talk about his bad takes on refereeing too? And I had to. I come back and I was like, hey man, like with your years of experience at the highest level of being a referee, sir, please explain to me what is a good take. And
hey, I'll never forget. I mean, look, wrestling Twitter is wrestling Twitter. It's as simple as that. And I'll never forget one time, me and my brother were in the car together, and a dude says all this smack, talks all this smack. I know I could book NXT better than you, or whatever it was, or SmackDown, whatever my brother was doing at the time.
Yeah.
And my brother said, hey, what if I come to your work and criticize what you do? Mm-hmm. And the guy said, well, I'm in the 9th grade, and I can tell you, dude, I laughed so hard.
Holy shit.
I said, that's Twitter. That is Twitter right there, man. And so
if you're listening, I just spit my water everywhere.
Yeah, you can't. You'd have to come to his high school to get him in the crowd. I mean, dude, I was.
Oh God!
Listen, over that tweet, I was raked over the coals. But look, at the end of the day, there were people that. Here's the kicker. It was one of those, and to me, when I tweeted, it was one of those tweets to make you think.
Yeah.
Just think. I mean,
who would have known it would have reached 1.1 million people?
Well, hey, but it's like I said earlier in this podcast, it truly means that the wrestling world is passionate about what they love. And look, the wrestling world is just a minute blip on the map of life. You know what I mean? And so to get that kind of, to have so many comments and so many, everybody took a stance. And that's what I love about wrestling, man. Some people love Roman Reigns, and some people curse him and hope he never wrestles again. And so it's just crazy. Look, even when we vote as a voting public in the United States of America, there was just a few million out of 150 million and 60 million votes.
Mm-hmm.
There was just a few million that separated the two men that were running for president. So it tells you that people have different opinions and different ideas. And look, wrestling is so subjective. And, so if you look, I love Ruby Riott, or Ruby Riott's how I knew her. And I saw her at WrestleCon and she's like my daughter's age. And so I don't know. I just have always, she's a sweetheart of a human being.
Mm-hmm.
But it wouldn't have just been her. It would have been, hey man, if it was, Seth Rollins, I'd be the same way. If it was, I don't know.
If it was somebody in main event wrestling.
Right. Well, that's the point. No matter who it is, it's a coworker in the business that I love. And in the ring, I will always have their back.
Yeah.
We may get out of the ring and disagree on everything, but I will never not be there for them. Look at NXT. I was over all the referees for NXT and all the referees in the UK, and taking care of the talent first and foremost. You are literally, I told them, you are literally the last person to walk in that dressing room after a match. The talent, you have to make sure that they're taken care of. And that's just the way I feel. So, I guess I shouldn't have expected everybody to feel like I did. But at the same time, hey man, come on. That's somebody bleeding and really bleeding bad. And there's a lot of things that go. People said, oh, she checked on her. Well, she did. I watched the match. We know after all that happened, I watched the match and she did check on her. But you can't let the match go on because the person that is bleeding so bad's heart is going, and it gets faster and faster because there's more energy being exerted. That's when you truly have to check on her. Mm-hmm. Checking on her the first time, hey, you good? Yeah, I'm good. Okay. And then you kind of keep an eye on. But you cannot get caught up in watching a wrestling match. I don't care what anybody says. And and again, double down, triple down. Look, everybody doesn't ride on an ambulance like you do, Mike, and have the training like you do. But if they did, they would understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So going from that into my next question for you, what are your thoughts on in today's watching wrestling for me today? I see a lot of just unnecessary bleeding. You don't have to bleed, in my opinion. Every show doesn't have to have somebody who's busted all the way open and covered in blood. And what's your thoughts on that?
So look, back in the day, that was something you built to. Right now, I haven't been with WWE for a while, and so for a year, and there's no. If you bleed, it's usually you hit the post or you did something, the hard way where, it's like if you punch me in the eyebrow, my eyebrow would get cut, things like that. Other organizations obviously are still okay with the way that it's always been done. And look, is it right, wrong, or indifferent? Who am I to judge? I just know we live in different times. And that was another thing about that, with all that blood, people said, oh, well, she put her gloves, the referee put her gloves on immediately. Well, if you know somebody's going to bleed, don't you have your gloves in your pocket ready to put them on because you know when it's going to happen? Come on, man. It's a scripted television show. And so anyway, for me personally, the old school, kill or be killed, I don't like that. I think the time for that has come and gone. But again, me even saying this on this podcast will get, oh, you're old. And whatever. You're welcome to your opinion. I'm welcome to mine. I just, I feel like, I don't know, Mike, I'll tell you, I will say this to you personally and for the world to hear. If you go to Mars Candy Company and say, hey, I have a wrestling organization, we'd love for you to be a part of it. And they say, okay, well, we want to watch your product a little bit. And they watch for a month and people bleed all over your show 2 or 3 times. They may say, you know what, that's not the standards that we hold. So we're going to pass, but thank you. And then if they watch a different product that there's never any bleeding on it, they may go, okay, yeah, we'll sign with you guys. So at the end of the day, it's about advertising dollars. Look, as a wrestling fan, oh my gosh, I watched my dad bleed 1,000 times. I bled. My brother Brad, Steve, Brian. I mean, we all did back in the day, but times have changed. And so, look, you can imagine walking into Red Cross and going, hey, would y'all like to sponsor our show? They go, sponsor it? We need to have 10 ambulances around ringside. So it's
they'd be out there trying to collect all the blood for donations.
Right. Well,
have the blood bank truck. It's
just such a we just live in a different time. It's 2023, and you know, for me personally, I'm not for all the blood, but that doesn't mean there is not a market for it, because I'm sure there is.
Yeah, there is, and I know there are some fans that I'm friends with that do love all the blood. Me personally, I think there's a time and place for it in wrestling. You got to build a story to it, you know. It doesn't. That's just my thought process, but
sure,
I'm just a fan. You know?
Yeah, no, me too. And look, the match that those ladies were in, did it warrant blood? I don't know. I mean, I wasn't the producer, and but you know, when you're using tables, ladders, chairs, sticks, thumbtacks, chances are there might be some blood. Mm-hmm. So I get that. It's just when it's that, you know, I've said it 100 times already. You don't now it's just repetitive. When it's that much blood, you've got to keep your eye on that person.
Yes, definitely do. Oh man, I just, you know, like I said, I'm a fan. I don't know what I'm talking about, according to the internet wrestling community.
The thing is you do know. You know what I mean? Look, everybody that had a comment knows what they're talking about. They get it. They just picked a side, and it's okay. What would be the conversation if all of a sudden the opponent went to pick Ruby up and Ruby just was passed out on the ground? You know what I mean? We had just had the guy in the NFL the week before get hit in the chest, and the referee I think he was just in the right place at the right time and looked down, and immediately, you know, people start saying, hey, come help. And so that shows you right there, things happen in sport. Yep. It just does. And so with that being on everybody's mind, it's, you know, look, you're
not saying Aubrey Edwards is a terrible referee.
Not at all. No, I'm not at all. And look, I know people came out of the woodwork to, you know, with videos about things she had done in the past. Look, if the organization that pays her is okay with that, then it's okay. You know what I mean? There's no harm, no foul. She can look, if she did cartwheels all the way around the ring 12 times, if the head of the company says it's okay, then it's okay. If the person that was on the headphones is not saying, hey, keep your eye on this person, you know what I mean? She's bleeding heavily. But look, that's on them too. There's a number of things that could have gone wrong. It didn't. Thank you, Lord. I'm so happy. But going forward, maybe just this conversation alone and the tweet got a lot of attention to where all referees, and I don't care if it's WWE, NWA, Impact, AEW, I don't care what, any independent, MEW, Diamond Champion, all of them. I want all of the referees to pay attention and don't get caught up being in the ring in front. Oh, I'm in a show. I watch. Look, man, you don't want to see somebody break a leg and then try to get picked up I mean, you want to be able to dive across and go, hey, stop right here. We got to stop this for a minute. You know what I mean? It's more than just being a referee. And that's what I was trying to get across. And for some reason, I became a clown and 50 F-bombs. And
hey, it happens.
Yeah, it does.
It happens to the best of us.
Hey, lesson learned.
I love whenever it happens to me, because I'm one of the people I like to argue on social media.
Well, and the thing about social media, you know the deal, Mike, on Twitter, there are no winners.
No, never.
In a social media war, there are no winners. And so I read a bunch of the negative stuff, and finally I just said, I love you, wrestling Twitter. Have a great day.
Yep.
I tap. I'm good.
Yep. So, oh man, it was funny. It was funny. You want to know what else is great, man? Our Armstrong Avenue podcast fan club on Facebook. If you haven't joined it, you need to, man, because it's phenomenal. So many people are already in there, and they share stories and memories, and some people even find videos of your family and you and your dad, and they post them in there, or pictures that I've never seen, and then I send them to you, and it's great all around. But I've got one here. Marcia Adkins posted in the group. Before we get into the hashtag Ask Scott, I want to bring this up to Scott. She said her granny was the lady who used to bake pecan pies for her Armstrong boys every Saturday. She's 91 and still loves wrestling.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I do remember that. Hey, look, she didn't just say, well, here, boys, here's a pie for you. She made pecan pies for each one of us individually. We would walk back in the locker room and have 3 pies. And I mean, look, my dad loved pecan pies. So if she's listening, or Marcia, please let her know. I mean, we all love those pies, but I'm going to tell you this. First, let me ask you, Mike, have you talked to Hustler Rip Rogers?
I've spoken a few times to him. Yes. He's
So this is, I hope he listens to this podcast and he will remember this. So we would get 3 of those pies. Well, I'm pretty sure Marcia's grandmother did not make them for the heels, only for the Bullets boys. You know what I mean? The young baby faces. And so we would walk back into the locker room, and Rip Rogers would send word over, please let me have one of those pies, please. And so there were, look, Marcia, I'm sorry. Please tell your grandmother I'm sorry. But there were a few of her pies that went to Hustler Rip Rogers, and he would eat them right there, no fork, no anything, with his fingers, and send word back over by the referee, please tell those boys thank you so much, man. And so Marcia, vividly remember those pies, and tell your grandmother thank you so much. And I always, me and my brothers and my dad always appreciated her taking the time out to make us those pecan pies.
Well, hey, I just seen that Granny Buchanan her birthday was 2 days ago.
Oh, really?
And they said she would love to get a birthday shout out from Scott Armstrong.
Happy B-Day, Granny Buchanan, and many, many more.
Yep. Hey, that's awesome, man. I love seeing stuff like that. This is why I created the group, man, because it just brings everybody together, and we can share these memories, and I love it. You guys,
Mike, you don't know how many times I've been able to show, like, my kids are 30 and 28 now, and so to be able to show them, they barely remember me getting beat every week, every Saturday night on WCW, because they were really, really little then, and so they really only knew me as a referee. You know, I wrestled 22 years before I ever started, being a ref, and they don't remember any of that. They only remember the refereeing part. So it's so cool to go on that Facebook page and be able to say, hey, look at these pictures that somebody, or look at this video, or that's just, somebody posted a video the other day, and it was Brad against Jake the Snake. And it was 1985, and from Louisiana, Mid-South. Bill Watts owned that, or ran it, whatever. But it was just so cool to see, Brad so young, and Jake before he ever got his big start with WWF, you know, and see those two dudes just have a great match and actually use a headlock, which you rarely see in 2023, man.
It's awesome. But hey, we're going to move into everybody's favorite part of this podcast. It's the time where the fans get to take over and they get to hit the hashtag Ask Scott button and ask Scott all the juicy questions everybody wants to know. Here we go, buddy. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
This one's good. I think it's funny. Melissa Tillery asks, hashtag Ask Scott, since the Bullet had a fear of snakes, did you or your brothers ever pull a snake prank on him?
Oh Lord, no. That's that is just that's a great question, by the way. No, it is a given. We knew better. We truly knew better. I can tell you a story, a couple of stories right quick. In my youth, I was probably 13, and we were moving or we were doing something, and we lived in Marietta, Georgia at the time, and my dad's brother lived not far from us, and my dad said, "Hey, can I borrow your truck to move some stuff?" And he said, "Yeah, just come get it. Leave your car with the keys under the mat in our little parking lot." He worked at a car dealership, said, "Leave it under the mat in case I need to use it." And my dad said, "Okay, great." So he goes, "Scotty, come on, ride with me." We jump in the car and we go to get in my uncle's truck. And my dad opens the door on the driver's side and goes, "Oh, God almighty." I mean, he sold it so big. And I hadn't even opened my door yet. So he goes, don't get in. And I went, "What is it?" And he said, "Look through the window." And I looked through the window. Well, I guess my uncle, somebody at his work, somebody had killed a snake. And my uncle had coiled it up and poked a stick up under its jaw and a stick in its mouth where its mouth would be open. And it was dead, needless to say. And but when my dad opened the door, it looked like that thing was about to strike. And man, my dad, I'll never forget, he walked all the way up to that car dealership and he told my uncle, oh, he was so ticked, man. God almighty. He was so mad. But that's one of the things. The other story is, Rocky Johnson, The Rock's dad. Mm-hmm. They were in Chattanooga, Tennessee. My dad told this story forever. And they were in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And Rocky was there like a big star at the time. And my dad was getting a good push back then. And Rocky had just got a brand spanking new pair of white wrestling boots. And look, back in those days, when you ordered wrestling boots, they didn't just come in next day air. I mean, it may be a month or 6 weeks because it was archaic the way that you ordered your boots. You know, you'd have to put your foot down and on a piece of cardboard and draw the outline of your foot. You could say, oh, I need a size 6. They never fit. It would, if you told them what size it was. And there was only like 1 or 2 places in the United States that made the boots that we wrestled in. And so we're talking about probably late 70s. And so my dad said, yeah, me and the dressing rooms at the Chattanooga auditorium at the time, there weren't big dressing rooms, like 2, maybe 3 people could get in there at a time. And so my dad and Rocky were sharing a locker room. And so Harley Race was on the card, and he knew that my dad was scared to death of snakes. So Harley had stopped and bought a rubber snake on the way to the show and literally stepped into the locker room and threw the snake at my dad and Rocky and turned the light off and shut the door back. And my dad said, I was trying to get to that door. Rocky was trying to get to the door. And we finally get out the door and flip the light on. We can see it's a rubber snake. And he said, I had stepped all over Rocky's brand new white boots, and it was just scuff marks all over his boots. He said Rocky was so pissed, man. I said, God, I can imagine, because they're your prized possessions when you first get them. And but that's just a couple of snake stories. Yeah, no, me and my brothers, there was no way we were ever going to do anything, with a snake to our dad. It would have been not good for us. Not good at all.
Hey, Melissa, thank you for the question. that was great.
Yes, that was a great question. Fun to relive those memories. Thank you, Melissa.
Yep. Callie Thornburg, one of our from the beginning, Callie's been
Yes.
listening.
Hey, Callie. Yes, I know Callie.
She hit us with hashtag Ask Scott. Scott, would you ever consider doing a brother versus brother match, and which brother would it be and why?
So, yeah. So I look back a good while back. I guess it was during one of my hiatus years from WWE. There was a little independent company down here in Pensacola where I live, and Brian Road Dogg, he was also down here, and so my dad and I would go and wrestle for them, and then Brian was kind of in between gigs, and so he would wrestle for them a little bit, and then finally they asked me, "Hey, would you want to turn on your dad?" And I went, "Oh, yeah, I would love to. It'd be fun." I mean, look, the houses weren't huge, nothing was being televised. It was just fun, and so I was the bad guy, and my dad was, he's Bullet Bob. Come on. And so I'll never forget we had done little in-house angles. So, the beginning of the show, blah, blah, blah. And my dad didn't have to say anything. I could do all the talking and say, "Bring that old man out here. I'm going to pay you back for all the years of abusing me, of whipping me." And you know what I mean? Just blah, blah, blah. And so then we had the match, and I told my dad before we walked out, I said, "Listen, I'm going to hit you." And I said, "If you'll just let me hit you and pick you up, I'll drop you right behind me. And when I turn around, you keep chopping me until I quit coming." And he said, "Okay." And I'm telling you, he would chop me, and I'd hit the ground and spin back up and charge him, and he'd chop me again. And I did it about 4 times, and then rolled to the floor and grabbed the microphone and said, "Somebody dial 911. That's child abuse." And everybody started laughing. And so I had a couple of matches with my dad there as the bad guy. And then my dad, he went to wrestle for somebody else a little bit. And me and Brian kind of took that role, except he had already had a career as, "Oh, you didn't know," and being the road dog. And so, man, did it make it made it so easy, because he could do anything and they would lose their minds, and I just had to fall down for him. You know what I mean? And I was always people see me and my brother standing side by side, and I'm now probably 5'11", and he's 6'4", and I weigh 190, and I don't know what he weighs, 260, 270 something, but standing side by side, we do look different, and baby brother and oldest brother. And so that made it easy too. And as soon as I could, get him down in the corner and beat on him, I could turn right to the crowd and hit a double bicep shot and say, "Are y'all seeing what I'm doing to this guy? It's twice my size." And it was just so fun. So if I had that to do over again, I would love to have a match with Road Dogg again, because it was fun. You know what I mean? Look, wrestling to me was always fun anyway. It was very physical, but it was always fun. And to be able to do that with him, that would be a blast.
It was a good question, Callie. Thank you.
Yep.
I think we've got time for one more question. Jared Jackson, he hit us with hashtag Ask Scott. Do you remember wrestling in Coleman, Alabama?
Oh, yes. Oh, Lord, yes. Yes. The funniest thing, Coleman, Alabama, we wrestled there, my brothers and dad, and, for years off and on. And And then Mickey Henry is anybody that's ever worked an independent show in the South would know that name, Mickey Henry. He's been around forever, and as you know, running shows. And I think he wrestled 100 years ago, but and I think he still runs in Boaz, Alabama, and I'm not sure if he runs Coleman. But it's crazy to say this. One of the biggest crowds I ever worked in front of in Coleman, Alabama, was at a car dealership, and Mickey called and said, "Hey, we're going to run a car dealership," and we started laughing because back in those days, we never heard of running at a car dealership until we pulled up. And when I tell you 3,000 or 4,000, you couldn't, it was just such a sea of people. Look, I would take my glasses off to walk to the ring, and I could not see where it ended. That's how many people were there. It was, and no chairs, just people standing up in a car. It was nuts. And also another story about that, on the corner up from the car dealership, this was a whole different day. My brother Steve and I were going to wrestle as tag team for Mickey Henry. He was running a show, and we ended up, a guy hit us, and we had a traffic accident at the busiest intersection in Coleman, Alabama. And we had just left the hotel, so we put our knee pads and our wrestling boots on at the hotel because it was only going to be like a 5-minute drive. And then we're in a car accident. And now at the busy intersection, there's me and my brother standing out the car with our knee pads and wrestling boots that say SA for Scott Armstrong on the side of the boots. People blowing their horns at us going by. And Mickey said, "Wow, that's the biggest crowd we ever had in this building. I wish you guys would have a wreck every week." I said, "Dude, no, you don't." It was, it's just a tiny fender bender, no big deal. But two memories from Coleman, Alabama, for sure.
That was a great question, Jared. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
man.
thank you.
If you guys want to submit your questions to the hashtag Ask Scott segment, go on to the Facebook page. It is a group. It is the Armstrong Avenue Podcast fan group. Just go in there. I'll accept your invite because I'm not accepting everybody's, because you will get some weirdos who try to mix some, I gotta monitor that. Okay, we can't have look.
Yes.
Next thing you know, we're selling lingerie in the group, and
yeah, we're already pushing the uppers as hard as you can. Energy drinks and coffee, and hey, I love it. And again, thank you for the sponsors. I know this episode went from lows to highs, and I just appreciate the wrestling community, and I appreciate you being passionate about something that we do all love. And don't stop being you. Don't ever stop. If you feel like I have overstepped my boundaries saying something or doing something, I don't doubt on Twitter that somebody will let me know that I have overstepped those boundaries. So please do. And thank you for being a listener and watching us on YouTube. And I hope you do constantly. And come see us on the 24th of February in Griffin, Georgia, the 25th of February in Dothan, Alabama.
Yep.
It's going to be awesome.
Yes, for sure. And as always, book Scott Armstrong at gmail.com.
Yes. Yeah, there's the episode. Not cuss Scott Armstrong at gmail.com.
It's book Scott Armstrong at gmail.com.
Yes. And thank you to Not Happening, because that email I read, I know you're probably listening, and that was the name of the person, or that's what they signed on as, Not Happening.
Yeah.
What an awesome name. That's great.
Speaking of funny names, it's just a little story that popped in my head. Did you know? So anybody knows I'm taking real estate school to get my real estate license. Walt Disney, whenever he was building Disney World in Florida, he bought all of the land under a fake name, M.T. Lot. Because
I love it.
He scammed the system, because if everybody would have known he was buying land, they would have upped the prices on it because they knew he was building Disney World. He bought it under Empty Lot.
Empty Lot. That's awesome.
That's just funny. It's a funny little thing. But hey, guys, thank you guys for listening. As always, follow me at Twitter at Big Mike the host. Scott Armstrong is at WWE Armstrong. Follow him. He lost about 3,000 followers the other day.
Yes. Hey, stuff happens. Yeah. I have opinions too. I just found out I can't say them on Twitter.
I can. I will.
Life is butterflies and sunshine. All is well.
Yes, for sure. But hey, guys, thank y'all for listening. We're going to get out of here.
All right. Thanks, guys.